do men focus too much on being ready-made rather than building wealth gradually?
The definition of wealth changed and what it represents. And then over time, it became this idea that I had to accumulate as much money as possible. And the purpose becomes, how do I get those things I've grown up seeing? I want what I'm seeing, but we don't have a lot of time to pause and go, wait, actually, hang on a second. What does wealth actually mean for me? Forget what the world is saying. What do you truly want? For a lot of people, it's simplicity.
Society is this very quick, fast, want it big, right? So how does that expectation put pressure on men to achieve and earn more, especially at a young age?
It's really important to make the distinction between like the logistics of money, like the wealth, and the symbolic power of money. Once you've got all your bases covered, acquiring a lot more money has less feedback into how happy you are. And I think what people do is they confuse the symbol of what that money means. Like you get lost along the way.
How does a man that's listening to this right now actually do this in practice? How do you stick to it? Don't let anybody distract you from your purpose.
When I think back to my 20s, I was misled a lot by my friendships. By that I mean, what I wore was driven by what I saw the people wearing. What I had on my hand was driven by what I saw the people wearing. When I look back on it now in my early 40s, I realized a lot of that was just not knowing who I was really.
I think that's very important with men, especially growing up. Who's your wise counsel? And there's a saying that it's the 5 common people you're around the most, you become the 6th person. So who are you truly sharpening that iron with? Who can really correct you if you're going down the wrong route? Who can really give you some career advice? Who can really be open and say that this is where I'm in terms of my salary at work? How do I get to that next level?
How can men do this more, especially money, if they're in a bad money situation? How do you do that without feeling insignificant and weak?
And sometimes the one that's always the loudest could be struggling. Not always, don't get me wrong, but in some cases. And so for me, it was great that we came together as a friendship group, but it was sad that kind of like this has gone on for a while.
With both partners off to working out, does that idea that men must carry the finances need to be rewritten?
Are we building or what? Are we part of the same household or what? Because a house divided against itself cannot stand. It doesn't stand.
One of the top 3 decisions you would ever make in life is who you choose to do life with. Coming together, making that decision can truly add to your wealth or subtract from your wealth, as we see.
How should a man's worth be redefined then? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have a very interesting conversation today. We have 3 people going to be talking about something very interesting. I won't reveal it yet. I'll get them to introduce themselves first and then we'll get right into the conversation. So Aaron, you're on my left first. I'll ask you first. At this moment, what impact are you most focused on creating in the world?
Right. Well, my background is as a psychotherapist. So I spend most of my weeks sitting in rooms talking very deeply about what's going on in people's lives. And about 15 years ago, I started noticing how things like social media and technology were affecting people's lives. And so the answer to your question is I like to talk about psychology and how it affects people outside the consulting room. So I'm discovering all this stuff that's going on inside the consulting room about people being on social media. And I wanted to share with the world what I was learning inside this confidential space and wrote a book about the psychology of social media. And now I like to think psychologically about all sorts of things, what it is to be a man, what money means, what it means to be in a career, just psychologically thinking about everyday life things outside the consulting room.
Amazing. Yeah. And you're going to add a lot from that perspective. And how long again have you been in, as a psychotherapist?
About 25 years as a psychotherapist.
So yeah, we're going to leverage a lot of experience there today. Thank you so much. Emmanuel, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm a wealth protection advisor. My whole thing has just been in the industry now for the last 7 years. I can see where the gaps need to be bridged. Just having the simple things in place, such as say life insurance, having a will, having a stocks and shares ISA to help bridge that wealth gap. So what I'm trying to do, or what I'm going to do, is actually just educate as many people as possible, especially families who I feel is the most exposed to this. Because what tends to happen is when you have children, your focus tends to go on the kids, which is great, don't get me wrong, but what are you planning for the future? And what people tend to think is to start off stocks and shares ISA can be very expensive when it's not. Start off with what you have. So I'm trying to reach as many people as possible.
Amazing. Thank you. Ken.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Well.
Yeah.
So welcome back to both of you, shall I say as well, yeah.
So I'm Ken. I'm one half of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. So our work, the impact we're trying to have in the world really is help millions of households, so individuals and families, to create lives of financial joy. So financial joy is a balance of wealth, which is what people typically want, but they often do that at the cost of what they need, which is well-being. So we bring that together and help them to design that life that's ultimately unique to them and balanced for the goals and desires and dreams they have for themselves. My wife and I wrote a book last year called Financial Joy, which became a Sunday Times bestseller. And I'm super excited. Actually, it's the first podcast I'm going to be talking about this. To talk about our next book, which is The Wealth Habit, which is a book that we're putting out soon to be published next year in March. The Wealth Habit is a system. So our first book was the reset to help people, establish a good relationship with money, take control of their finances, and effectively learn all those strategies. But the Wealth Habit is the system that helps them go from knowledge to actually implementing the mindset and, all the things that they're learning, actually putting it into practice in their lives. So that's a bit about me.
Amazing. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to actually deep diving it. We said we're going to talk about that on another episode for sure, and deep dive on it and, talk about like some of the, I think you said frameworks as well, right?
Yes.
Around that. So actually, Ken, whilst I have you, I'll ask you this question first. What's your earliest memory of money and how do you think it shaped your perspective as a man?
Oh, what a question. Earliest memory. Do you know what? I was born in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, and I grew up. The memory I have particularly about money is in the village in the eastern part of Nigeria, southeastern part, in a village where I grew up. And the earliest memory I have was back when I was at nursery school, and I was standing by a gate, and there was a lady selling plantain crisps, carrying the thing on her head basically, and I was standing by a teacher, and we used to call it, the name of the thing is called Okoroafor. Okoroafor is the sound it makes when you chew on the plantain crisps. And the lady called, I wanted some of the Okoroafor, and they called the lady to come and bring some. And they basically they pour a bit of stew on it. And that's the first memory I have about money, because I turned to the lady and the lady paid for the food. And I had some of it. And that stuck with me, that image of the exchange of somebody provided something and money was what was used to make that exchange. And so for me, has it shaped my view as a man? I'd probably say that for me, my relationship with money has varied over time. So in that instance, it was really like, just an exchange to buy something. But as I moved to the UK to begin life here from absolute ground zero, money was about survival, and it was about fitting in. It was about not being bullied or not standing out. I wanted to feel like I was like everybody else, so that I didn't get picked on. And then over time, for me as a man, it would then become about security and about freedom and about peace and about family and, all those elements. So I'd say it's changed over time. When I was in my 20s, it was about keeping up, really. It was about doing what my friends were doing, the nice watch and, the nice car with the rims, and all those things. So the relationship with money has varied over time. And I'd say it's still evolving, actually. But for me at the moment, it's more about joy and peace and family. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that, because it's the fact that you said that, when you're younger, and I think like a lot of young men, and what we're going to be talking about, that relationship between men and money, the fact that you said that in your 20s that you felt like you were also trying to keep up. I think like a lot of us feel like that. And I think even more so now when we have social media is even more. So it's going to be quite intriguing, like diving into that pressure, because I don't feel like, there was pressure, but I don't feel like it was like something like that. And again, I don't want to spoil the conversation too much, but Emmanuel, how about you? You want me to ask the question again?
Earliest memory regards to money, right?
Yeah, and how it kind of defined your
So while Ken was speaking, I had to take my mind back all those years ago. So I never forget, there was one Christmas and I got a watch as a gift from my dad. And I remember I was upset. I was like, why am I getting a watch? I want like a Sega Mega Drive or one of those type of things. But I remember my mum sitting me down saying, but you don't know how hard your dad has to work. And for me, I was like, what does that mean? Obviously, I think I was like 7 at the time, but I was like, okay, he has to work. The older I get now, I got my first job working in Hamleys as a sales assistant. Remember the hours I had to put into work just to get that £450 for those 2 days worked over the weekends. And I was like, I really worked for that money. Then, have your children. And now you're like, the things that you do, the sacrifices that you make to make sure they can go to after school club, they can do swim lessons, football lessons, this lessons. So for me, it was almost like that played in the back of my mind. And I remember one time I said to my dad, thank you. And he looks at me like, what are you saying thank you for? Because I get it. Yeah, I get it. And I think that just having that presence, that male presence, with my dad, he's not a flashy person. So for me, I think seeing that, it kept me rooted as well. Because again, when you're in your 20s trying to keep up with the Joneses and your friends are getting their one series, that was the thing with Mike back in mind. If you had the one series, you was the guy, or if you had the McGann with the back.
Oh yeah, the McGann.
That was like the entry level. So I just think for me, that memory from 7 in a way has shaped me to an extent. So,
Okay. Oh, appreciate that. Thank you. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I want to put a little twist on my answer. So my father, got a lot of fathers going on here too, right? My father was a first generation American, and he was a Depression baby as well. So his parents came over from Eastern Europe. There wasn't much money, and then grew up just after the Depression. So he had a real scarcity mentality. And like, if you were to buy anything, like you had to research it, you had to find like, what was the best quality thing that you could get for the price? There were really no, like, you know, you didn't just go out and buy stuff, and they didn't buy stuff for you. So I kind of grew up with this, like taking money very seriously and being very cautious about it. And then he got diagnosed with cancer when I was 14 years old. And we were out in a shopping mall, and I saw this coolest thing that I wanted in my bedroom. And I was like, oh, I really want this thing. And he said, well, let's buy it for you. And I was like, no, but we can go to whatever, Walmart. I'm sure they'll have it cheaper there. Maybe we should check if they have this other thing. And he was like, no, let's buy it for you. And I kind of insisted on doing this like thing that I learned, right? Like that he'd be proud if I kind of could find the better deal, basically.
Yeah.
And I think because he was at the end of his life at that stage, he just wanted to give me something and not get hung up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Actually, it was much later that I kind of reflected back, and I thought, God, he shifted, you know, which is a really beautiful thing. And if you can like hold book, all the stuff that he taught me about that was important, but it's not the whole thing. You know, you can have scarcity, safety, but you also need to have generosity.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, that's the twist. I kind of grew up with this very scarce, very precise upbringing around money, and then sort of had to have that kind of twisted in the end. Like, oh, it'd be different.
Huh. All your stories are so different, but so like you've a lot of lessons from that. Yeah. What would you say in terms of from like the responsibility point of view? Where would you say that you've like as a man you had that first sense of responsibility? I'm just putting out there. Anybody can answer that.
I feel like for me it was when I had my daughter, my first child.
Okay.
Well, even when I got married, I guess you can say that. But I feel when the children, when they came, and I've got quite a few children, I've got 5. So for me, I was like, I want to give them just the best life possible. And that means I just feel I have to work hard. But luckily for me, because I'm self-employed, I now have that balance. And I quickly realized just through my experience working through the corporate field that either I'm trying to chase the accolades and not have time with my family, or I can go down a route whereby thankfully I've learnt the skill set where I can talk to people, and I've seemed to have do well at it for the last 7 years, but that gives me time. And for me, time is probably the biggest currency that I have. And I think as I've got older, I've now learnt that, because it's great to go and pick up the kids from school, dropping them off to school, be able to go on holidays. Whereas before, in a previous role, I would go to work and not see the kids, come back, they're asleep. That's not life for me.
Yeah.
So I think for me, having been able to have that time, it's been a great currency.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like a lot of men do the opposite of that. They're chasing.
Oh, no, but I've been there.
Lifestyle.
So I can see it from both angles. And it's horrible. And I remember I was just putting away because I'm just trying to chase the bag, quote unquote. But at what cost? My health did on the decline because I'm not getting to play football or go to the gym. So then there's that saying, how can you enjoy your money, but you're busy just chasing, and then it's out.
Yeah. What do people think about that? What Emmanuel saying?
To be fair, to echo on what Ken said about the whole thing with the finance and the well-being.
Yeah.
For me, that resonated.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people whereby they're making money, but are they really living?
There you go.
Yeah. But where does that come from? Because it comes from somewhere, right? The whole grind. Because do you know how many people I've spoken to, especially like older guys, and there's been a few, and what they will say to me is, Atto, the one thing I regret is I didn't spend as much. I miss birthdays, I miss this, I miss that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying. So why did you make that choice?
Right? Do you know what? it's interesting because I think part of this conversation is somewhere along the line, the definition of wealth changed and what it represents, right? So as part of the research we did writing our book, when you look back to the 12th century and look at what wealth actually was defined as and what it actually meant, look at the words that wealth got derived from. It was actually derived from a state of welfare, happiness, and well-being, or joy. This is what wealth was. Okay. Yeah, this is what it was, right? And then over time, it became this idea that, I had to accumulate as much money as possible. So accumulating as much as possible was, I am quote unquote now wealthy, right? And that's then changed our perception. So the media, the things we consume, the Hollywood, the social media, all the things, then mean that when we see people who are driving, very nice cars or living it up on the beach or whatever, that is the picture of wealth we have, because on the back of that is bags of money or whatever. Is this assumption that all this money is what is representing wealth, and then that then drives our pursuit. It then drives what becomes our default purpose, basically. You go to school, you go to uni or whatever, you get into a career, and the purpose becomes, how do I get those things I've grown up seeing? Which is where social media and everything else comes in, because that amplifies, like wood to the fire. It adds more of that desire, more of that, I want what I'm seeing. But we don't have a lot of time to pause and go, wait, actually, hang on a second. What does wealth actually mean for me? Right? Forget what the world is saying. For me, it's about peace. It's about that sense of progress. It's about that sense of purpose at my own pace. And isn't just like, okay, I've got this much now, so therefore I'm quote unquote wealthy. I've known people who've built a lot of wealth and passed away and didn't really enjoy it.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like I'm not talking here in their 50s or 60s. I'm talking here in their 30s.
Wow.
Their 40s.
Wow.
And at a cost to their health, to time away from their loved ones. Some people have gone through divorces. Some people have kids who don't know them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then you ask yourself, well, what's the point of everything? What's the point, right? And so there needs to be a point around, the reason I say peace is because sometimes when you define your own version of wealth, you have to be at peace with it. Because otherwise, when you see other people, you can go, actually, that's okay. Like they can have what they have. But I'm at a place of peace with what I'm doing. A bit like Emmanuel was saying with, this balance he has with his family and his children. And for him, a big part of that is his wealth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. XTB is currently giving new clients a free share in Rolls-Royce when you open an account, verify it, and make your first deposit. And within a few days, that share is yours. I use XTB myself because it makes investing simple and affordable. You pay 0% commission when investing in stocks and ETFs, and you can earn up to 4.25% interest on any cash sitting in your account. You also get access to 10,000 stocks, ETFs, can start with as little as £10 and enjoy quick, secure and free deposits and withdrawals. It's one of the most straightforward platforms I've used, whether you're just starting or scaling your investment portfolio. So, if you'd like to kick off your investing journey with a free Rolls-Royce share, check out the link below or use code SAVVY and sign up today before the offer closes on the 30th of November 2025. Please note, the free stock promotion applies to the United Kingdom only. Your capital is at risk. The value of the stock may fluctuate. Limited availability. T's and C's apply. And as you mentioned, Ken, it ties me nicely into my next question, right? So as you mentioned, society is this very quick, fast, want it kind of big, right? So how does that expectation put pressure on men to achieve and earn more, especially at a young age? We were talking about some of us wanting to do more. What do you think about that?
It's really important to make the distinction between like the logistics of money, like the wealth, and the symbolic power of money.
Yeah.
And it's really, really symbolic. And it kind of moves, you get a curve. So basically happiness in the acquisition of money is a pretty steep curve at the lower end. So you need enough money that you're not worried all the time, that you can meet all of your costs, that you can, you're not afraid, right? But there is kind of a plateau. It does continue to go up as you get more, but it goes up at a much shallower rate, right? So once you've got all your bases covered, acquiring a lot more money has less feedback into how happy you are. And I think what people do is they confuse the symbol of what that money means. Like you get lost along the way. Like I always think the morality tale in this is The Godfather. I don't know if you guys are Godfather fans, like the Godfather films, because it's all like on the surface, it's all about family. Like I'm doing this for the family. We're doing it to protect the family. We want the family to be at the center of everything. But then they get so lost in the work and the politics of it that none of the men are there for their families in the end. You know, they're either shot or they're at work. And the whole point seems to be to create safety in family life. And then you get lost in the symbol. I'm not enough. My value is attached to what I think I ought to have. So you have to really kind of make two different decisions, right? Like, what do I actually need to do to have the wealth that I need to do the things I want to do and need to do? And then how do I want to live my life? What's important to me? What are my priorities? Is it a priority to be at work 60 hours a week where you're not seeing your family? If you have that choice, or are you going to switch priorities to picking your kids up from school and, moving it around, getting that symbolic bit separate from the logistic bit and making some really smart decisions about how you do that. Yeah.
But how does a man that's listened to this right now actually do this in practice? And because you can say, okay, do this, do that, but then how do you stick to it and don't let the outside noise affect? Because that's ultimately what it is, right? Like like you mentioned, social media at the beginning, social media, all of these things. Because I think something that's really important, especially for me, me talking from my perspective, I think being a man, I think you have to be very, I can't remember who said it, but like almost, you follow your own path, but you have to be very, not just confident, but very sure in it as well. Don't let anybody distract you from your purpose. Yeah.
Self-aware.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's an aspect of emotional intelligence, being self-aware. Because a lot of, when I think back to my 20s, I was misled a lot by my friendships. By that, I mean, what I wore was driven by what I saw the people wearing. What I had on my hand was driven by what I saw the people wearing and that sort of thing. And when I look back on it now in my early 40s, I realized that a lot of that was just not knowing who I was really and what my core priorities in life were. Even like stumbling into starting off a career and all those things, a lot of that was, some of it was accidental. Like I didn't really fully understand like what I truly wanted out of life. So coming back to your question, like how does a young man watching this, a guy watching this, like how do they start to, make this real such that like they can get to a place where they feel, this is what I really want. And then the outside world is not going to, drive me in a different direction. Yeah. I think really reflecting on purpose is a big thing. So we have an acronym we use, and I might have touched on this previously, but it's the POST framework we teach. And the P stands for purpose, basically. What do you actually want? Like, what's your why out of life? Like, what does all this mean? What does money mean to you? What does it symbolize? When you see money in your bank account, do you feel safe? What's it for? Is it to buy you more time freedom? Is it so that you can travel? Is it so that you can spend more time with family? And then coming to a place where you decide and you can explain it in 5 sentences or one sentence, a couple of sentences. Here's my why is a really powerful thing, because then you can say no to a lot of things when they get presented to you.
Exactly.
Where you can say, actually, no, this doesn't align with my purpose, the why for which I feel I'm working or I'm existing and all those things. And it's then out of that why that the objective comes in. Because, to your point, what is the goal? There will be a number somewhere that makes sense for your, your standard of living or that sort of thing. You can pay your bills and look after your family. And what does that actually look like? Defining that and making that, having a sense of direction for what that looks like. That's what then activates the strategy, which is what will be our approach. Who do we need to help us get there quicker? You mentioned stocks and shares, ISAs, investing, getting out of debt and all those things then become possible pathways, starting a business, making sure you have life insurance, all those are all strategies. And then the T is a tactic, which are what are the small steps? What are the things I need to do to have that purpose? Like for me, one of my purposes is I want to be alive, man. I want to be around in my 70s like my parents. Like, do you understand? When I see my mom and dad, I'm like, they're kicking it in their 70s. They're having fun, man. They're going to parties. They're enjoying their lives. I'm like, do you know what it would take for us in our 30s, 40s to get to our 70s? To be alive, to get there? With all the trash processed food out there, all the bad advice, all the stuff that means you can almost self-destruct. There's so much that can happen in the next 30 years for people. For me, I want to be around. So tactics could be, man, I need to work out maybe 3 days a week. I need to watch what I'm eating. Not being funny, what I'm putting into my body is what would dictate the wealth I arrive at in the future. Because otherwise, what's the point of stacking up my ISAs and pensions when I'm not there to enjoy it, right? So you can see if you have a bit of order, a bit of thinking, and then obviously having people around. The right people around you always matter. They guide you, and if you're rooted in your faith, you might think these things they matter so much. If you're rooted in your faith, this helps your marriage, helps the foundation for your children. It helps your sense of self-belief and self-purpose. So much is connected to that. So any young person, man or woman, whoever's watching this, if you start to think in those buckets, you start to have a bit of order. And then the world will always come and say stuff to you. You will always turn your phone on and flick and, what do you call it? Like swipe. You'll always see stuff, but then you see stuff and go, nah, that doesn't align. You question what you hear, what you see.
Yeah, I think it's important in this, I was speaking to you, Emmanuel, offline. You mentioned microwave society, which I think we can all agree it definitely is that type of society. You have so much information at your fingertips. You have so much pinging. I get Twitter alerts, I get Instagram alerts, TikTok alert, YouTube, everything. So you're so it's so different to I guess before the internet or even the early days of the internet. We're so much more connected, but then we're not always connected I would say not always on an authentic way. Because when you're connected to people, it's not the real. It's just that highlight of the positive. Nobody really puts the negative. We know that. That's just, some people do, but majority of people don't. So I feel like that pressure and that perception that young men and even young women as well, I feel as well, is probably that's where I feel that comparison comes from, because it's based on something that's not really the reality of, life.
No, facts.
As well.
Even to add on to what you were saying and what Ken was saying. So me and my friends, we have this saying that social media isn't real. It's just a facade. And a lot of my friends are off the grid, so they don't go on social media. Or they used to, but they said it doesn't serve them any purpose. Whereas someone like myself, what I do for business, social media helps a lot. So I've got friends that are venture capitalists that they say there's no need for me to on Instagram. They said half the guys that I interact with, you would never even know who they are. And they have 100 followers. That's it. Whereas we see people that have millions or hundreds of thousands, and respectfully, some of them are empty inside. Whereas my friend, he's going Swiss Alps. He's chilling with XYZ that's, got X amount in funds, due to what they've done with VCs. But I've got other friends that are, say, football coaches for top Premier League teams. And they're like, well, there's no need for me to go and be on social media. So when we meet up, face to face, person to person, we check in. How are you? How's everything? How is life? No, how really is life? Where are you struggling? It's open conversations with real men, whereby we can just be vulnerable and open with one another. Whereas if we see things on social media, everyone's great, everyone's doing well, everyone's a six-figure earner. let's be honest. For us, we can really delve in deep when we just meet up. And it's literally the point whereby sometimes you can be so focused on trying to chase the bag, quote unquote, whereby what we try to do now is every 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to meet up on a Friday.
That's nice.
Just to unwind, just to speak about life, just to share ideas. And I think that's very important with men, especially growing up. Who's your wise counsel? And there's a saying that says if you're around the 5 common people you're around the most, you become the 6th person. If that makes sense. So who are you truly sharpening that iron with? Who can really correct you if you're going down the wrong route? Who can really give you some career advice? Who can really be open and say, look, this is where I am in terms of my salary at work. How do I get to that next level? Things like that. What conversation are you truly having? And I feel like, especially with men, we're easy to connect over, say, sports, but what else outside of sports? So I think there's being intentional with, regular meetups and being present. I get it. Life is busy. It is, but we have to make time. And I feel like even this conversation like this, it's an eye-opener. Even I'm learning something.
Yeah, same.
I feel like more needs to be done. Even if you start off in the WhatsApp group chat and then you take it into, say, regular meetups, I just think having that intentionality helps.
Yeah.
And for a young child, if you're in your early 20s and you're watching this, I would say, even if you haven't got wise counsel around you for now, who do you have that are older siblings or older relatives that maybe you can lean on to?
Yeah.
Because I watched a really good podcast with, it was Tiny Temper on, I think, Murder Comedians, and he spoke about his older cousin. I think they were similar age, but he had a lot of knowledge, his older cousin.
Yeah.
And then through that, his cousin became his manager. His cousin was showing him certain things that he wasn't aware of or privy to, and he was able to make wise decisions.
Okay.
So it's so important who you're around.
Yeah, that's, you know what, because I was going to ask, actually, how do, you know, young men actually find that wise counsel, like you mentioned, but the fact that you said actually older family members, that's true. Because sometimes I feel like the young don't want to reach out to the older because they're like, oh, you're boring, you're this, you're that. But actually, it's like reframing in a way, right? Like
Awesome.
if you, it's a reframing exercise. Actually, I can learn something from this person that is so much many years ahead of me. I think that's great. Imagine someone with 30 years more experience than you.
And just avoid the
Bro.
mistakes they made.
Yeah.
I deliberately look for people who are older. Like I've got men who I go to who are at least decades ahead of me. So obviously I have my dad who's in his 70s, but beyond that I've got like actual mentors in their 50s, in their 60s. I go to them deliberately at least once a year, sit down face to face, you know, and have a chat about the generational challenges and the generational things they're navigating. So, you know, because these patterns carry on, right? And you're able to connect much more deeply.
I want to say something about the older people, though, right? Because I think it's asking a lot for younger people. Most of them won't, right?
They definitely,
Most
a lot of them won't. Yeah.
And I work with a lot of younger people, and I get this kind of, it's like the uncle benefit, you know, like you'll talk to your uncle about something that you might not talk to your parents about because you're like one step away.
Yeah.
But what I think a lot of, particularly now where the generations are like so split apart, I think a lot of older people, they're not curious enough about what's going on in the mind of a 20-year-old or a 22-year-old or even a 30-year-old, right? So it's like you get disturbed by the social media, or you dismiss it, or you kind of say that's not good enough. You should do this, right? Yeah. But to like really make the space to listen and to really put your judgment aside, you know, and you're going to have it, and you're going to like really want to like engage and be like, you know, at some stage, this probably isn't the best direction for you, but they will not give you the time unless you're curious about their lives. And they might be on networks or social media or playing video games that you have no understanding of. They might be in a world of online rabbit holes that just like completely freak you out, and red pills and all this stuff. But like, just bring your curiosity there first. And that develops the relationship where they then begin to feel like, okay, I'm interesting enough to this guy to open up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to take an interest in what they're doing as well in their world.
Really trying to understand them.
Because we were all young once, and the young us is not us now, right? It's a very different person. We had to go through our own life and learn things. But you're right. I think connecting with them where they're at is where you're gonna get.
And your guys are like opening the door to you, right? Like they welcome you into this mentor space. And sometimes it takes a while for particularly the younger kids to open up that door, but you just kind of keep reminding them that is there, you know, and kind of give them their own time.
But the thing is, I make a lot of effort. By that I mean, like, it's everyone's busy, man. Like, I make the effort to reach out. Like, relationships are the things that are worth more than anything. Look at like all the data on like why people live longer. It's the strength of their relationships and cultivating them through the ages, you know, whether in your 20s, your 30s, just trying to build them. Even if you have a handful, but they're true, genuine relationships, they matter so
That's
much.
the thing, right? You get like thousands of them online.
Oh, yeah,
like two or three of them in real life.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's so many people who have millions of followers, hundreds of thousands, who are so lonely because they don't have true relationships. So I'd say start with one. So speaking to a young man watching right now, or a young woman, whoever's watching, you got to start with one real relationship, you know, and truly cultivate it. And it's not just about what you can get from somebody. It's about what you can sow in. You know, what can you give in terms of time, effort, making sure you truly care. Like, one of my things that really frustrates me is when someone's birthday and I get like a WhatsApp message going HBD. Right? Like, what is HBD? Right? So, it just really hurts me. Right? It's just like, hang on a sec. Is this what we've got to now? Where you can't even phone me? You got my number. You can't even phone me. I'm not that far away. Like, just phone me. I can still meet you up. you know. But I think it's about real relationships. Phone people, like genuinely care. Don't just do it because you want something. Like genuinely, this is a human connection.
Yeah.
Right?
And it takes effort, right? I like that word.
Yeah. You got to make the effort.
Yeah.
To anything requires effort. Marriage, parenting, like, you know.
It's the truth, though.
I completely agree. So the other thing I wanted to move on to, right? So there was some research I did. So most ISA millionaires, I understand, I think they're in the older age. I think they're around the 70s, 60s, 70s. And the average US millionaire is 61. Do men focus too much on being ready-made rather than building wealth gradually? What do we think about that? I think, Emmanuel, you kind of mentioned, you know, a little bit about chasing the bag when you were a bit younger as well.
Do you know what it is? I'll never forget when I was 18, 19, working in Hamleys, there was a man who used to do like the puzzles, but you get commission on the puzzles. So that's where I first piqued my interest about sales. And he was saying to me, what do you do with your money? I said, you know, my dad says, put something away. I just put something away and I'll say, enjoy the rest. He said, okay, have you thought about your future? And I'm looking at him like, I'm just 18. I just want to go to Tiger or wherever it is afterwards. But he sowed a seed and he said, look, start investing. He said, literally, when you get to my age, you'll thank yourself for it. And that just played on my mind. And I was just like, But I'm seeing my friends that I drive, like I mentioned before, 1 Series, the Megans. I'm like, what's investing going to do for me? But that little seed it sowed said, okay, it's piqued my interest. Started to learn more about Vanguard, you know, what that looks like. But then when they said I need to put in like £20 a month, I got scared and ran away. But as I got older now, I was like, yeah, okay. Began my journey. But I just realized again, being in that corporate space and having mentors, so to speak, they were able to help me steer me down a path saying, look, make sure you opt into the workplace pension. Because there's a lot of young people, especially you see on Twitter, saying they're opting out. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Because what people don't realize, if you don't pay into your pension for a certain period of time, you're going to get the basic of the state pension, which ain't going to do anything for you. And I have a theory, like I said to you before. I think the pensions, when we get to a certain age, there's going to not be enough for the state pension for the whole people that are currently alive. That's just my personal theory. As obviously people are living longer, as you know, there's more people in the population. What are you doing outside of that for your own personal one? So your own stocks and shares ISA, your own private pension, if you can facilitate that. But to answer your question to the whole micro generation, unfortunately, it's just what you see in social media, isn't it? And obviously the stats there show people in their 60s are becoming millionaires. So if they can do it and wait to get to there, why can't we? Why do we have to have that rush? But again, it's what we see, isn't it?
And that symbolic part's really important too, because you got to ask, like, that you want to be the millionaire. What does that mean to you, right? And what it means really is like, I have arrived. I've done the right thing. I've done everything right. And actually, if you just arrive, it's the effort thing again, right? If you just like satisfaction. I mean, there really is no gain without pain, right? Like the satisfaction of accomplishing something is that you worked hard for this thing, right? So of course you kind of want to skip a bit and reach millionaire, but it's kind of like, okay, the meaning is I want to feel like I've arrived somewhere. I want to feel like I've accomplished something. Okay. Yeah. So you got to twist mentally what you're working towards, which is working hard to be what you want to be. And hopefully a good consequence of that is that you could be really wealthy from it. You can do that with intention as well, but don't mix up the having arrived with the getting to arrive, if that makes any sense. You know, you want that to reflect the work you put into it, the value you have in yourself. Because it won't do it on its own. And we all experience people with lots and lots of money, with lots of dissatisfaction. You know, you got Elon Musk, who's got billions, and he now wants $1 trillion top up, right? It's like he could never.
I saw that, and I was
I didn't see that.
I showed my wife this thing when they said they're going to pay him this like trillions, whatever it is. I was so disgusted,
right?
I thought, oh my goodness, what
it's the biggest symbol
this
of
is like
deep unhappiness.
Yeah,
right?
this is a problem.
What does he think? What does he think? Well, what do we think about that? Why is he chasing $1 trillion?
It's power, man.
Okay.
And like what you touched upon, I feel like, not everyone, but some people, maybe there's something missing. And they feel like money will be the fuel or the catalyst to it. And they keep chasing and chasing. And then what? And then what? You hear podcasts whereby, you know, ex-professional players, they've made X amount of money, but then they've blown the money so quickly because they've been chasing something and chasing, trying to fill that void. And it's still empty. So it's almost like, yes, what does wealth look like to you? You know, and I think that's the fundamental thing we all need to ask ourselves. Peace of mind. Let's give you my example. I just want peace of mind. I just want to be able to just do what I want, how I want, when I want. I don't need to be the richest person. I've got to that age where I don't need to be the richest person in the room. I'm happy if all of you here earn more than me. But if I have my peace, my sanity, I was even talking to someone earlier today that's going through this HR stresses at work. They were sick, and then they said, okay, you've been sick X amount of days just due to obviously what it says in your contract. I think they're on like a 10-month probation, which is absurd, but that is what it is. And I just had so much empathy. I was like, we go to work to earn, to provide for our families. We don't need that added stress. But now, at what cost? Because of the salary or the position they're in at work, it's almost like now they're trying to apply more pressure. And for me, I'm just like, that's not it for me.
Yeah.
It's really not. And it's like, not everyone has that. Not everyone's daring enough to say, you know what, they're going to start a business. Because let's be honest, a lot of businesses fail. So it's almost like, a lot of people are caught between a rock and a hard place. Does that make sense? So it's almost like, again, what I try to encourage people is try and learn additional skill. I'm not saying it's going to bring you money right away, but it can bring you peace, whereby if you have, there's that saying that FU money, for example. But if that skill can get you to that point, then great. If not, at least you've still got that skill, if that makes sense. But I just feel like, I'm going in a circle, but
but you're making a point. You're making a point. Because I talked about personal definitions earlier. So my personal definition of wealth is that wealth is a journey of peace, progress, and purpose. Driven by our deliberate choices daily. But not deeply influenced by society's expectations. Right. So society will always come with its own things. Right. They will always want to influence how you think. But I think of these 3 P's, you know, so it's about peace, it's about progress, it's about purpose. If you have peace, a bit like Emmanuel was saying about the choices you're making. I'll give you a really good example. Like my wife, Mary, and I chose over many years to try and pay off our mortgage early. Right. Now, a lot of people will tell you a lot of things. Don't do this, don't get on a property ladder, don't do that, that's all good and well for them. But the peace we have in our home, because of the choices we've made, is what matters for us. Do you understand? Like I wake up, I'm not stressed. I'm not thinking, is this mortgage bill coming out? Is this other thing coming out? Like, because I've designed my life that way. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's all that matters, irrespective of what anyone thinks, right? That's peace. Then there's progress. Every day I wake up, like I'm here at this podcast, like we're chatting, you message me, come. I'm like, this is going to be fun. Let's come on the show. And for me, it's great. I feel this is a sense of progress. We're having good conversations. We're talking about what matters. We're having a human interaction. For me, that's so important. Then the third piece, purpose. Every day I wake up, do I feel like, like I'm just living a senseless life? Or do I feel like, like part of what I'm going to do today is connected to what I feel I'm called to do. Do you see what I'm saying? So we connect all these dots and you go, hang on a sec, wow. Even if things are challenging, you're like, I have peace. I feel like I'm progressing. I feel like I'm living a life of purpose. When you connect all this and you really reflect on it, you realize, you got a lot of wealth in your life. You have so much going for you. Even if you have a difficult day, you can come back to that default and again, reflect on those core elements. And so long as you're making intentional choices, because there's so many choices we make every day. Some we're aware of, some we're unaware of. Even like you driving on, like this East London, for example. Some roads you come in this way, they allow you. Some roads you come out the other way, you get a £60 fine. You didn't decide you decided to drive in there, but you didn't know stuff was going to happen. There are lots of intentional choices, unintentional choices. There's things we can control. Control as best you can. Things you can't control, do your best to try to avoid. But as long as they're intentional, then speaking to young men specifically, you should feel a sense of progress. Like it's about those small things you're doing daily that over time compound. Talking about investing earlier, small things like, did you know that you'll be far ahead of the vast majority of people by simply opening up an investing account? Just opening one up. Most people go, investing is like, I'll put my money in there. It's like going into a black hole. It will disappear and I'll lose all my money. But if you've opened that account, you've actually done something unusual. You've actually said, my wealth identity is that I'm a wealth builder. I'm choosing abundance. I'm choosing to make money work on money and not just rely on swapping every pound and every dollar and every hour for a bit of money. Right? That investing account is almost like a nod to your future that, you know what? I kind of want a future where money is doing more of the work. And then gradually you start small. You know, you might be getting £100, £50, £20, $20, wherever you're starting with. But you are making gradual progress. Again, that word, that P, gradual progress to your definition of what wealth means.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask all of you actually on this, because on the other hand, you know, cost of living has gone up a lot, as we can say. You know, high interest rates, inflation, etc., and stuff like that. Salaries are not going up as well. Salary in the UK is not even that high. I think is in the average is in the 30,000s, right? How do you feel that then adds more pressure to be like this whole, I need to make more, I need to make more, I need to make grand? Because I feel like that also adds to the element of, you know, wanting to grab, because somebody might be listening to say, yeah, okay, this was all well and good saying, let's find all these things, but I got bills to pay, right? I've got things to do. And that's the other element I hear a lot of people saying that, you know, I've got to take care of my family, I've got to take care of this, I've got to do this, right? As well.
I'll say something quickly. So I did a post on Instagram talking about salaries in the UK that are deemed to be high earning. Obviously, if you look at our American counterparts, their starting salaries, you could be a midwife and be on over £100,000, for example. And I'd done a video whereby I said, it depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for that piece that comes with a job, but at a lower salary, or maybe a salary that's a bit higher, but comes with a lot of stress?
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to try and maybe find that happy medium. So I gave an example whereby I've got a lot of friends that work for TFR, for example. Obviously, I know they may get a bit of bad press from what's been in the news, but a lot of them are well paid. So I was like this. What are you really trying to achieve? Do you want to enjoy the life that you're trying to build for yourself and perhaps not make your whole being about what your job is? For some people, that's not their thing. Whereas a lot of people, you can see that they're really about their job is like their badge of honor. I look at it like this. Look, if you just want a job whereby you know you can do what you need to do and enjoy your life, so to speak, look at roles like that, for example. Look at being a project manager, for example, whereby you don't necessarily need to go to university. I use my role, for example, people that are doing financial advice. You don't need to go to university. Some people obviously will have the accounting and finance degree or another degree and it's transferable, but there are so many jobs that are out there or schemes you can use. Like, for example, say if you're a young person, a degree apprenticeship. So I had a friend that done a degree apprenticeship in regards to accounting and finance. They paid for his university degree. He's now doing really well for himself. There's a lot of things that are out there, but I think it's more about this making enough people aware that they're actually available. I even met a gentleman going back to TFL. So they have actually a scheme. So again, for a young person, that they're trying to get more train drivers. They're trying to get more customer service reps. But what they tend to find is those that tend to have a more affluence to their name, they seem to be well connected and know about these schemes. So they send their children to go through these schemes, whereby that's not the target audience. It's those that are from more unfortunate backgrounds. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And he was at a barbecue earlier in the summer, and he was saying, like, EJ, please, I know you've got your platform, so if you can just share that information. There's so many schemes that are out there. We're trying to reach more people that are from less fortunate backgrounds, but unfortunately tends to go to those that are doing really well. Their families that are doing really well in life. So look for those schemes and just try and literally just get them filled up if you're from, say, an unfortunate background, so to speak.
I think just looking is like such an important thing, right? Like, people don't want to look. So, I mean, people don't want to look at their bills. They don't want to look at their overdraft, right? They don't want to look at what opportunities they might not think are in front of them. And it's really scary to look. And, you know, when you're doing either a personal inventory about your personal life and your family, or you're doing a financial inventory, you have to look at the numbers. And I think the younger you are, and I think we absolutely can't ignore like a really difficult economic environment that just throws so many challenges in front of people. But you need to have the courage to really look at the landscape. And I think the younger you are, the more difficult it is to play a long game, which is, you know, if I do this apprenticeship, it's only going to pay this much, and it's going to be like 4 years. And but like, if you look and you see how much that's going to bring and where that's going to put you, and you bring that intentionality on board to kind of see you through, get the mentorship to support you through that, you start building something that can be really satisfying. If you look at what compound interest can do, if you're putting £10 a month away into an investment account, right? Just to start, get your head mindset in there, you start to change things. And I just want to say, Ken, like, if you don't do what Ken said about intention, progress, purpose, that is the recipe for a midlife crisis, right? You have to ask yourself from the start, and I know a lot of young people are, I think they're asking them more than my generation did. realign. Am I going in the direction that I want to be going in, or am I going in the direction that my friends think I should be going in, or that my dad thinks I should be going in?
Yeah.
You know, you got to check in and ask yourself, because if you put yourself on a track and you don't keep your eyes open, you will find yourself 10 years down the line and it's harder to change.
Yeah.
And you can, and people do it all the time. And some people have midlife crisis and do it, but you can make these incremental changes all along and just stay aligned, purposeful, intentional.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's a tough sell because it's hard work to keep yourself. Not that you shouldn't have fun and get distracted and enjoy yourself along the way, but just sort of have that kind of North Pole.
Do you know, I was going to add as well, really excellent thing you said there. I was going to add that, you know, back to the point you said at the very beginning about people are chasing their things, they need to earn, and they need to, you know, the thing I always keep coming back to, think about my journey is with my wife, is that life is about design, right? So imagine you had like a blank sheet of A3 paper and you could design a life that you truly wanted, not just a life that something sowed in your mind that you want, like social media or your friend or your neighbor or your sibling even, but a life you truly want, right? Now, that whatever you design on that sheet of A3 paper, you would need to swap your life's energy to be able to acquire it. There needs to be an exchange because you need to give something to get something back. So I know someone who, like, not even a joke, needs to make £50,000 per month to be able to sustain their lifestyle. So that means they need to make 600 grand a year, you know, net income. And if you gross that up, they need to make £1 million a year just to fulfill their annual living costs. Wow. Now, for that person, right, that's the life design they've chosen, which means, and, you know, they're hyper stressed, you know, the regulations change, taxes change. They are mega stressed. They need tons of like things to happen. They need to sell they need millions of followers. They need millions. They need like everything's a multiple to maintain that lifestyle, right? Wow. You might then go, actually, do I really want that? It looks nice on the outside, right? It looks nice, but that individual's mega stressed. They look like they're 10 years older. You know, they're trying to keep up all the time. It's like they're truly paycheck to paycheck, even though they're making $1 million a year, right? To keep up with all of this stuff. Then you might go, actually, on the other end, do you know what? What life do I really want? Right? Let's just ask that question. Okay. Whoever's watching it, just reflect for a moment. Forget what the world is telling you that you want. What do you truly want? For a lot of people, it's simplicity. They just want to be able to pay their bills without like too much hassle. Yeah. They just want maybe one holiday a year or, you know, 1 or 2 trips that, you know, will give them that sense of I'm enjoying my life. They want to be able to have work that isn't, you know, stressing them out working 12-hour days or whatever. You know, they want a life that is simple, not necessarily the need to want something all the time to consume, but life where they feel they have a sense of financial security and so on. And if you really think about that, a lot of people, if they truly design their lives intentionally, can actually achieve that. A lot of people, you know, where you choose to live dictates how much of your life's energy you're going to plow into achieving it. Like just that one choice of where you choose to live. I'll give you a real practical example. Most Black people in the UK choose to live in London. Like, did you know that then drives the wealth outcomes for Black households in the UK? That's it. That one choice. Yeah. It drives wealth outcomes. It drives marriage outcomes. It drives mental health and stress outcomes because households are mega stressed. It drives health outcomes, right? There's a lot of pollution in different parts, right? There's so many knock-on effects, second order effects of things driven by that one decision of where you chose to plant your roots and live, right? So again, coming back to the A3 sheet, if you had to redesign your life, imagine you could move things about and go, actually, I'm going to shift this here and shift that there. What might your life actually look like? Yeah. And what would it then cost? Because then you're not doing things based on the world's expectations. You are designing the life that truly matters to you, irrespective of what anybody has to say. Because then it then feeds into, do I really need to work, 6 days a week or 5? Like, today is actually, like, I've come on this podcast. It's actually my day off today. I have Friday, Saturday, and Sundays off. I've just come because for me, this is actually fun to come and talk about this, right? I designed my life that way. I could have said, you know what? I'm just going to work all week, 7 days a week, driven by greed. I could have said that. But no, I don't want that. I like to look younger. I like to feel younger. I like to enjoy my life. I like to spend time with my wife, my beautiful wife. I like to spend time with my kids. I like to just chill in my garden, do nothing. I like to go for walks. I like to be in the woods. Just do whatever I want, right? Because that's my life design. You see what I'm saying? And for that reason, I've then decided like how much I think is enough for me. Like, you know, I'm not having to chase every pound and penny or dollar or whatever. You know, some things I say no to, some things I'm like, okay, I'll do this project or whatever. But with that balance, that this is my design that I want.
Yeah. It's appreciate you saying that, because I think it goes back to that intention, like you've all mentioned today, about the intention of like really sitting down and thinking about and being, I think there's that element of being brave and being like, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to follow what you're doing. Not that you can't meet up with your friends. Of course you can. We all have our different lives, but just being okay with what you're doing. I was going to actually ask this. I think it's quite important. How do you think like the whole, you know, keeping up with the Jonesies and things like that, how can that have an impact on like men's financial health and also their mental health, especially in the society that we're in today?
And again, I watch a lot of podcasts, but I never forget when Dean Forbes shared his story about obviously being an ex-professional football player, being released, and obviously keeping up with the Joneses with his friends, having to obviously max out credit cards, and then you're ending in thousands and thousands of pounds of debt. And you see it with people whereby if you're going out at tables like £500 or more, I don't know how much it is now these days, and then people are obviously being pressured, obviously got to split the money, and then maybe you don't have the money, but again, that pressure, you're finding means, maybe you're messaging someone, I don't know, a partner, other half, or can you lend me that, or a friend for that money? And it's just priorities. And I feel like as you get older, as you navigate and you have your own financial journey, you realize, is this really worth it? Who am I really trying to impress? Because at the end of the day, it's still my bank balance, if that's in the negative or the minus. You know, so I feel like I look at it as this. I'm thankful I'm at an age whereby I have the peace. I don't really care what anyone else, if anyone thinks I'm wealthy or poor, that's fine. At the end of the day, I can go home, I can lay my head to rest. I like what Ken said. I manage everything by my diary. There's no one calling me saying, why are you not here at this time for this meeting? I like that piece. And I think I've been able to navigate and take that control. And I think when you're able to do that and you can almost not say dictate how you want to do things, for me, again, I'm going to go back to that. That's wealth. But sometimes you have to go through, like in the Bible, whereby, was it Jacob had to work 14 years to get his wife? You have to go through that sometimes. You have to put in that graph, so to speak, whereby you've gone through the trials and the tribulations, but then at the end, you've seen the results. You've reaped the rewards. Don't get me wrong, doesn't have to be everyone's story, don't get me wrong. But you have to know, what is my desired outcome? What am I trying to achieve? And then once you've reached that milestone, don't go and then say, what's next? And what's next what tends to be a lot for a lot of men. I don't know if that's designed by nature. I don't know. I'm not the psychotherapist. However, I find that with a lot of people I know in my midst, it's almost like they achieve one milestone. What's the next one? It's almost like you want that adrenaline, or you want that dopamine. And I feel like sometimes that can play a negative, or have a negative impact on a lot of people, you know, and especially if you look at to the left or to your right, comparison is the thief of all joy. You know, just because X, Y, and Z appears to be there, and they might be there, applaud them. Your time will come. Or what does your achievement look like for you? And I like that whole, the A3 sheet of paper. For me, that's the beauty. You can design the life you want. You really can. And someone always said to me, especially when I was working in pharma, I learned a lot of lessons working in the pharmaceutical industry. Whatever you want to achieve in your career, how does it work backwards? What do you need to do? What qualifications do you need to get? What accreditations? What meetings do you need to attend? Who do you need to speak with? Or who do you need to, like, in terms of like reverse mentoring, they called it back then. What projects do you need to go on to show yourself for your brag file, so to speak. Yeah. So for anyone whereby you're trying to achieve something, work backwards. That works for me, you know. So, yeah.
And being the shrink in the room, I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit woolly, but
okay,
bear with me for a second. Because again, it's like where you put your value, and if you're doing a lot of social comparison, you're judging your own value in relation to the perceived value of somebody else. Like you're saying, you don't know what's behind that picture. And I think one of the solves to that is to just find something that you're really good at, and it actually doesn't have to be in relation to earning money. It's like a bonus if you can get those two together. But if you can have pride in yourself for something that you can do, whether it's drawing or dancing or whatever. You can probably not. This is definitely not dancing for me, but like then you're kind of accruing value in an aspect of yourself, and in accruing value in something that doesn't have to do with you, just has a little bit less power over you. It could be the kind of relationships that you have with the people in your life. It could be being kind to people. It could be volunteering. And I know it sounds a little bit woolly, right? But it's like, I am manifesting a value of mine in the world. So I don't need to judge myself in relation to what you value or what I think you value or what I think you think I don't value because I don't have this thing, right? It's a little bit more solid. And then you build on that thing. And the more that grows, the less you're swayed by all of these other ephemeral things of what you should be doing.
So, over 70% of people who watch these episodes are subscribed. If that's you, hit the subscribe button. It really supports the channel, it helps it grow, and most importantly, lets us keep bringing you valuable conversations like this one. Plus, you'll be the first one to know when new episodes drop. Thank you so much for your support so far, and enjoy the rest of the show. This links me into another area that I want, and I think this is a very important thing. I definitely wanted to talk about it. So, I read that male suicide rates remain one of the top killers for men in the UK. How much do you think money, work, and being a provider play into that crisis? I don't know if many people know that, but it's quite sad actually, and staggering as well.
I think it's very sad to hear that. Personally, just hearing that is something I know already, but just hearing it again, it's just very sad. I think it's just there's a lot of societal expectations that we carry that we a lot of the time don't talk about. We don't feel like we have spaces where we can articulate how we feel about things, and the pressures we carry. On the outside, we appear like we're successful, like things are going well, like we're strong and we've got it all together. But deep down, a lot of us are really carrying a lot of struggles. We have identity crises. We have all kinds of pressures, parenting. So, my brother here's got 5 kids. Like I got 2. And when he said 5, I almost like inside me, I was just like, oh my God, this brother's so calm. I need to learn something from him. Even like navigating parenting, there's a lot that I feel men carry, and a lot of men feel lost as well, in just their place in the world, their place in a relationship setting, and their place in society's, structures and so on. So I feel like there's just talking is a big remedy. And I feel like I personally find a lot of peace in just saying how I feel about stuff. I'm blessed in that, for me, having my wife is a really good thing. It's amazing. I can talk and, really feel connected. Having my siblings really helps me. Having, a handful of friends really helps me. Having my faith really helps me as well. Like, I know we don't really often talk about like the relationship between like your faith perspective and, outcomes like feeling completely lost. I feel like being rooted in my Christian identity, for example, is so important for helping me feel like I'm made in the image of God. Yeah. I have much to bring to the world. I have a sense of purpose every day and that sort of thing. And I have, and I'm not alone, because another thing is loneliness and just feeling like you're just on your own in the world. Like there's no one out there to, to hear you, or like you feel like no one can relate to you, or you can't relate to anybody, So even that, from the faith perspective, I feel like, I'm not on this journey alone. I have certain things I navigate, struggles, but I'm not on my own, right? So I feel like there are just different elements or certain environments that are necessary for men to feel that like we have a lot to contribute. We feel we have a sense of we're valued, and we're worthy of, a lot in our lives, and, certain experiences that we have in our lives, we're worthy of those things. But having the right spaces would help, and I think things like this, real life experiences, having places where other men truly check in on you, or other people, other loved ones in your life truly checking on you, actually matter, and will help with that sort of thing. But I think it all comes down to just that sense of just being on your own, really, and a lot of that feeds into mental related situations, loneliness and so on, that then might lead to those outcomes.
Yeah.
Which honestly is just very sad to hear, really. Yeah.
And it is. And, you know, if I think about something like debt, right? I know you mentioned Dean's story, and fortunately he was able to get himself out of debt. There is a lot of people, you know, many men that would be in debt, and they definitely would not open up about that, because it's not, again, that whole, you need to be made, you need to be a made man, shame, you need to be a made man, you need to be good with money, you need to be making a lot of money. Why do you have debt? And I think sometimes there's that fear. And then also, I was saying to Aaron yesterday, I have to always tell myself not to, I don't even really say this to anybody, but you know, even when like you're speaking to a young man and like, let's say they're getting upset, you're telling them, oh, need to man up, man. I think that's crazy to say, but I think it's problematic. You shouldn't be telling somebody to man up. You should be able to express yourself, feel how you feel. That's a genuine feeling. Yes, you can bounce back from that, but feel it out. It's all good. You know what I mean? I think it's okay. I think it's healthy. And I think looking down on somebody because they're sharing how they feel because they're supposed to be a man. I don't know, man. I think that's strange.
It is.
For humanity to be, because then we're like what, robots almost. Like you should have no emotions. You're just here for one purpose: make money, take care of it. That's it. Bye. Like what? Seriously?
Even to touch on that, even that's like a parenting technique for me that I've been learning, especially parents. It's a journey. So with my son, he can be very emotional when it comes to football. So right now he's at that age where he's conscious about if the team wins or the team loses, and he'll be upset. And I'm like, it's okay, son. It's okay, fine. So my wife, she's a trainee counselor, so she will tell me all the stuff she's been learning, you know, like techniques to adopt. So it's almost like if the kids want to just have a moment, let them have a moment. Like, do you want to hug it out? That's fine. Say what you want. So literally, they lost the game on Sunday. He was heartbroken, and in my mind, I was like, it's just a game. It's fine. You're 6, no, who cares? But I have to remember, he's a little human. Emotions, you know, he's really upset about it. So we just hugged it out. It was on the pitch, just hugged it out. I said, say everything you need to say, it's fine.
That's beautiful.
Nice. And then he forgot.
That's beautiful.
Then we got in the car and went home, so can I put an iPad? I said, it's fine, put an iPad.
This is the thing about feelings, right? Like feelings, they come and they go, but they don't go if they don't get recognized. If you have to suppress them, they get worse. So hugging it out, he gets to have his thing and then it gets to go. And I think men have in general, really difficult time. They're afraid of, everybody's kind of afraid of their feelings, particularly the negative one. Shame. Yeah. Shame is a really big one. Fear, sadness, even grief. But like feelings, they come and they go. And if you swallow them, it's trouble. So the aloneness, if you're alone and you got feelings that you don't know what to do with, then you're up some creek, right? Find people that you can share them safely with. Your dad, if you're lucky enough to have one, that will take them. In fact, we all have them. Like you can point to somebody else and say, they're yours, they're not mine, but I can guarantee you they're yours too, right? So we all have to accept this universal thing. We're all feeling, we might express them in different ways. But yeah, swallowing them is not a bad idea. Find the right people to share them with. So
you think it's about trying to open up. And how can men do this more, especially money, if they're in a bad money situation? Because that debt stuff, not just debt, struggling financially, maybe because of the cost of living. Because I know, when interest rates went up, a lot of people were, okay, I need to find another job. Struggle. Might have to cut this, might have to cut that, right? And then I know this because I have these conversations with my friends, my guy friends, and I know they're struggling. It's like, okay, but you won't think that's happening because men won't come up and say that. This is a struggle because, again, you want to look like you've got everything undercover, right?
I'll show you an example. So, a friend of, a friend of mine from one of the friendship circles that I'm in. So he was asking a lot of our friends individually to like lend him money, but it'd be like a random amount of money he would ask. And he'd asked me a few times and I was like, I messaged one of my other friends that I knew that he was really close with. I said, look, has someone reached out to you, asked you to lend money? He said, yeah. And then we had a discussion. He was like, he's asked a few other people in our circle. And I said, what should we do? Because I'm like, you don't want us to spiral into something else. So my friend, he's an accountant. So he said, you know what? He's very analytical when it comes to money. He said, let's do an intervention. And cool. So literally we went to his house, sat down. We said, look, you know, we love you. Like, you're our guy. Like, you're our friend. Like, what's going on, bro? And at first, you know, no, you know, I'm all good, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, look, some of us live in Kent, some of us live at X, Y, Z. We've come all the way to see you. Like, come on, bro, like, let us know. Long story short, he's explaining what's happened, like, personally, stuff to do with his, the child of his mum, his children's parent, so the mum. They're not on good terms, whatever, and obviously he's now requesting more money. He's moved in with his sibling, obviously rent as well, so it's just things are getting on top. And it's a thing whereby now it's like he has to pay X amount every single month for obviously rent, child welfare. So he said it's getting a lot. So what he's trying to do, he gets into a habit whereby he will ask one of us to lend him money, almost like a partner, basically. So he's asking a different friend each month. Okay. But it's now starting to spiral, if that makes sense. And we were like, okay, well, the last person that he asked, so you go, don't worry about that for now. At least just leave it. Let's help you patch up your CV. Let's actually start speaking on our networks to find you a job. He's able to frankly, he's got a new job now, doing well. Well, yeah, he's doing well for himself. But it's almost like, why did it take for us to notice what's going on here? Which for me was a bit sad.
It's sad, yeah.
When it's time to go to the motive and have fun and have, you know, you're there, you're loud, everyone. And sometimes the one that's always the loudest,
struggling, yeah,
could be struggling. Not always, don't get me wrong. Always, but in some cases. And so for me, it was just, I saw it two ways. It was great that we came together as a friendship group, but it was sad that I kind of like this has gone on for a while.
Yeah. And
no one really picked it up until it was like, okay, this is going on and on and on. And if people make little jokes in the chat saying about people lending money while they're paying them back. And it shouldn't get to that.
He's lucky to have you guys.
He's lucky to have you guys.
Seriously.
Lucky. Yeah.
And people should be less afraid of asking, I think.
You
just don't want to ask, and it's just like you had the courage to say, come on, that's works with the lonely thing, right? Like people are going to find it difficult to come forward, and if you start to feel like something's going on, like check in.
It's really tough, this one, because you said one word that I wanted to just talk a bit more about, this word love. You know, because I feel like between men, we don't say that word.
No.
And the thing is, when we said it, everyone was like, oh, okay.
Like, whoa, you know.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
So it was that moment was funny. When it was like, yeah, bro, like, you know, some guys, bro, like, we love you, you know.
Yeah.
And as you add on the extra, like, we love you, you know.
Yeah, you have to just make sure that, you know, it's just not that time.
So it's gosh.
Do you know? But I think this is the fact that this is making us laugh so much says a lot, because clearly we have love for each other.
Yeah.
But it's about how we express that love.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel that proximity, you know, so like the more you feel like you know somebody, the more you can have more, you know, closer conversations, more intimate conversations, things about like what you're truly struggling with, you know, helps actually show that love actually in real life. You know, like I know people who are struggling, and I, you know, as you asked that question, I was thinking to myself, you know, what would be a really good way of creating an environment? I think a keyword might be what it is, right? If you say this keyword,
like
this is like an indication that please, I need an intervention. I need some help. Because I think that might be an easy way for men to just put it out there. You know, like at least I've not said what's wrong. I've not said how bad it is, but I've indicated to you that I really need some help. You know, because I think that reduces that barrier. And if it's like a common thing and we're like, okay, there's 5 of us and we've all agreed, if you hear this keyword, okay, you can reach out one-to-one, or we can maybe have a group call, or we can meet up in person or whatever. And we know that that keyword relates to financial problems. I think this will help a lot of people.
I like the keyword. That's a great one. Yeah. I think people listening, please do implement this, because I think it's important. You know, I think, you know, this example that you said with your friend, I can imagine if you didn't reach out, it's just suffering in silence. And that's being a man. I know and it's like I'm hardwired like that. Suffer in silence. We'll just do it. I'll get through it. And I just don't think is a healthy way to. You should ask for help. Really, we need help. Everybody needs help, and I think it's okay to say like, look, I need this help. You know, without feeling weak? Because that's the other, that's an
Yes.
uplift
Yes.
thing, the weak part.
Yes.
Right? You know, and I don't know I'm not a psychotherapist. We've got one here, but how do you do that without feeling insignificant and weak and not? So you can, you know, maybe you can never escape the feeling, but how do you still move past it?
I think you really have to identify. You really have to identify it as bad programming.
Okay.
Right? Like everybody experiences vulnerability. Everybody makes mistakes. If in your mind vulnerable or making mistakes equals weakness, it's like a reading error. You're reading something that's completely natural that happens to everybody as a weakness in yourself. So you kind of have to, it's basic programming too, particularly for men. So you kind of have to do some work on yourself to identify like, this is what's really going on for me. Actually identifying that and seeking help is a kind of a strength rather than swallowing it and finding myself being worse. And I want to say on the other side of that, the people that are peeking in and asking, a lot of people don't ask because they don't think they know the solutions. They don't know how to answer the questions or the problems that these people are experiencing. And that is totally secondary. Like you will get to a solution, but get the alone situation first. Like, dude, something's going wrong. Like, just like, let me know. And then you're sharing this experience. It's like, okay, we'll put our heads to it. We will find a way. But like, as soon as it comes out, it just kind of opens something. And then you need to learn that too. So if you think that getting it wrong is weakness, and then you share it with someone and they actually treat you with respect and they want to help you and they show some love, you start to rewire that too. And then, you know, and then it passes along and then you can kind of help somebody else. You kind of really have to change the basic programming of this is a personal failure of mine that needs to be kept secret.
Yes. Yes. Because it's interesting because that also connects to this idea of value. So, you know, from the perspective of someone might say, I work hard and I don't have any money, so therefore I don't value myself very much. On a personal level, I feel like I'm not achieving very much, and like my net worth is negative, or my net worth is zero, or is very little. So therefore, I'm not worth very much. That differentiation is so important in that your personal worth as a human being is so much more, you know, than what your net worth might be worth. Because oftentimes we connect the two. We're like, oh, so like I'm not worth very much, so therefore, like, you know, like I don't have much to contribute to the world. It's very important to make that distinction because this is all coming back to that stat you gave earlier. That might be playing into that, you know, because self-worth is such an important thing. Because if you feel like
men who take their lives feel that they're not going to be the value for the people around them, right? They feel so, not all of them, there's lots of different reasons why people do it, right? But what allows them to do it is they think they won't be missed and that they're a weight or, you know, they're a problem. And that's, it's a problem, right? Because that's it. They're doing that thing that you're saying, like my value must be in this thing, or my debt is my value, therefore I don't have any value to my wife or my kids or my family. And it's like, they're going to miss that value.
Yes. And this then comes back to love. Because actually, they're connected. Because it's like, how often do you tell people you love that you actually love them? How often do we do that?
No matter what, right? Like even with the debt, right? Or even with the mistake.
Okay, this leads me into my next question because, so historically, men were expected to be the sole providers, especially in eras when women had fewer economic opportunities. With both partners often working now, does that idea that men must carry the finances need to be rewritten? Because I feel like that also probably plays a part to the whole men are providers role. And I feel like you're seeing that. I don't know if, again, you've got to be careful with social media because it can be perception. But I feel like that perception is exploding even more. You have to be earning a certain amount. You have to earning six figures, all these crazy numbers that don't, like you were saying before, Ken, that actually don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. If it doesn't really compare to the life that you're trying to create. But people are seeing all these kind of things there, and then they're thinking, I have to be that. And like we were saying, okay, I'm not that, so I don't have no value. So that's where so yeah, can we talk a little bit about that perspective as well, because I think it's important. I think it's an important thing, and I think that adds a lot to this as well, in my opinion as well.
Do you know what we do in my household?
Yeah.
So when I met my wife Mary, we said we're going to do things differently to our parents. So what we do is everything, no matter who's working. So at different stages of our lives, I was working all the time. When my wife got pregnant, had first child, second child, she had to stop work, obviously, and then pick up work again. So our income varied. So the amount that we were earning varied. Now, in the old world, you'd go, it's easy for me to go, like, I bring in most of the income, so therefore, like, blah, 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 blah. But our approach was, no. There's no such thing as my income or your income. It's just our income as a household. Everything that comes in, no matter how much you make, comes into the household. And out of that, we then make decisions. So whether we're paying into ISAs, pensions, kids' expenses, travel, and what have you. But this did something. It really diffused something, because it removed the pressure that, I must be the main breadwinner per se. I'm still working hard and doing various, and she's working hard, she's doing various things, but it's for the ultimate success of the family. So when we have variations where she might earn more and I might earn less, or I might earn more and she might earn less, doesn't really matter, because ultimately everything comes back into making the whole better off. And that way, it's about us championing each other, helping each other to win, rather than this world where I feel this massive amount of pressure, and then there's this like, how much do you make? And how much do I make? And then we'll go to dinner. You pay for 50% or 60%, and I pay for 40%. And there's all this other percent, this percent and that percent. And it's like, are we building or what? Are we like, are we part of the same household or what? Because a house divided against itself cannot stand. It doesn't stand.
Yeah.
But if the foundation's solid and like, you know what? We're in this together. Like, let's remove all these like societal pressures. Let's just come together as a unit and build. When you do that, you're flourishing. And I'm telling you, it works. But of course, not everybody will accept that, because like this is how
a lot of people won't accept that.
A lot of people won't accept that.
A lot of people won't accept that.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Everything comes back to, I said earlier, life design.
Life design,
do what works for you. But I can tell you, what I just shared with you absolutely works. I don't have pressures of, I need to earn this much and this much and this much. All I care about is I've been married now for 14 years, happily married, and I love it. Is my marriage flourishing? Are we doing what we both want to do? Are we contributing to our family? Are our children living in a home that is happy, is safe, is secure, where there's love, there's provision? All those things is what matters for us, Not like all these extra bits. That person on social media said that. This is the new trend. Like, who cares about all these things? Like, just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Find your person and just do your own thing.
Yeah.
See, I feel what lets you do that is that you're both adults, right?
Yes.
So you're both adults in a household making adult decisions. Yeah, you want to spend your money.
Exactly.
And I think, like, come on, like, we can get really hung up on what a man's supposed to do and what a woman. Like, just be adults and decide together what you want to do and talk about it.
It's not that complicated, guys. Literally.
Yeah. But we make it seem so complicated, and we really like put that, because when you say segment to say a guy, you need to be earning this. If you're not earning 6 figures, then you're now, it's just, to me, I think it's very problematic, because I'm not saying that you can't be with somebody who is ambitious and who wants to work hard, but that's just one of a number of values. No, it's not, because that's not even a value. Making money is not a value, but that's one of a number of things, right? To just say that based on that, and if not, you're worthless. To me, I think that messaging isn't a great message that's out there, right? And then you see a lot of these young men, that's why they're probably like, okay, I want to make money as quick as possible.
Yeah, but what you're saying, there's a real point you're making, which is I have people who come to me and go, offer me some advice and guidance in life. A lot of these people are single men or single women, right? And Mary and I, we are observing a trend, which is that a lot of men have this pressure that they need to earn a certain amount of money to feel relevant, which is what you're saying. But on the other end, there's also this pressure that a lot of women don't want to be with guys who aren't earning a certain level of income.
Yeah.
So what I'm really saying here is that there needs to be a shift in the way we think. There's to be a shift in mindset, because if we go into the future with just this one way of thinking, which is, hey, like if you're not making this much, or if you're not at this career level, then not very much is going to happen. Then all we end up with is young people who, they might be nice and in their 20s now, life's good, or in their 30s. Next thing they hit 40, they're still single and still trying to pair up. Next, because I've seen this happen. I've seen some friends who were just, coasting along in their 20s, next thing their 30s, next thing they're 40, and they've wanted to pair up with people or to go into a long-term relationship and still haven't, because they have these certain views, certain boxes they need to be ticked, certain things, that mean that they just carry on like that with a lot of frustration and, that sort of thing. But there's a stalemate going on. And I just feel like we'll end up with a future where more and more people who may want to be in a relationship remain single because there hasn't been a shift in the way we're thinking.
And where are those thoughts coming from, right? Yeah. It's like you're talking before about you're aware of what you put into your body, what you eat, the air that you breathe. If you're consuming lots of junk messaging, it's like junk food, right? And if about your value, about who's telling you, what influencer is telling you where you should be when, and that's your guidance. So I think find quality information, use that quality information, get different kinds of information, and make decisions for yourself, which is, it's easy for me to say when you're not subjected to the same algorithm over and over again, kind of force feeding.
True. Yeah.
It's really some junky information out there.
I think it's important, because I think it's, again, important to put these things into perspective. I think if a man is listening to this and like they feel worthless because they're not earning a lot, I mean, I'm not going to say my salary, but my salary was not great when I was at uni. It was low. I was living at home. It wasn't great. But, looking back on that, I was just at the beginning of my career. I was starting up. I was growing, right? It's like a child growing, right? Or anything like that. You're learning, you're building. But the person, and obviously as a person, you grow. And I think a lot of people, or many people, I would say, I feel like it's like no more of growing together. Like you were mentioning, building together, growing together.
Yes.
It's now, let's just be at your peak. What? So you want somebody at your peak, but are you at your... It's so weird to me. Aren't you supposed to build to your peak together? But you want them absolutely at their peak. How does that make any sense? You want somebody...
And then you combine it with the transactional nature of swipe culture. Yeah. So you got that person who's at the peak and who's achieved everything. What's to say that next week they're not going to swipe and, swipe you off and get somebody else on? Because they're at their peak. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They've got it made. They might then go, actually, it's funny, Mary and I were discussing it today. Look at the way the world's changing, the things we're consuming. A lot of the TV shows are literally saying to us that commitment's not really a thing. Look at like shows like Married at First Sight, Love is Blind, all these shows are all seasons, right? It's like at the end of season 1, oh, were you still married? No, you're not still married. Oh, next, please. Let's get on another one, right? And then it carries on. It's this pattern. This is the messaging, right? So you then pair that with what you're saying, which is, on this hand, I need someone who must be earning this much money, or I feel pressure to earn this much to be blah, 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 blah. And then on the other hand, well, commitment. What is commitment? Doesn't matter. You can swipe left or right. I don't know which way you swipe. I don't know. I've never used those apps, but you can get somebody just by swiping. When you layer those things on each other, you have a problem, actually.
A big problem.
So
if you get it, you're in trouble, right? Because you're getting something that's kind of made up in a way. This is where the value is. So seek that value, and then they might not have the other values that lend to like a really good relationship, right? Like being two adults in a room, or having values about how you want to raise your family or what kind of life you want to live. Like that's what makes relationships click. It's not this kind of headline value. Not that doesn't have importance, right? But like, what are my values? What are your values? Do they match? And you're not going to get that in a 37-second TikTok video.
Yeah. So this is a tough question, but so how should a man's worth be redefined then? Instead of, okay, how much should you earn? Because I think it's important for us to talk about, like, actually, how should we be seeing it? Or better yet, how should a man see himself instead of, okay, I don't just have value because I earn 100K. I still have value even if I'm making 30K or 40 or 20 or whatever it is.
I feel like we're in a day and age whereby if you say to someone, put away your salary, what do you bring to the table? I feel like a lot of people will struggle just with the whole social media thing is now.
Yeah.
And I feel what happened to the days of, say, just self-development, just what are you reading? You know, what activities are you doing outside of work? You know, are you going for your runs? Are you, I don't know, meditating? Are you doing mentoring? Are you doing volunteering? What are you doing to empower yourself and make you the best version of yourself you can be? And I feel like we've kind of lost that essence of almost trying to better oneself, more just chasing the bag. So I feel like if you focus on your own personal development, then you would bring so much more to the table. I feel like more opportunities will come your way, not just because, okay, this person earns 6 figures or whatever it is, or a high salary. Who are you? I think a lot of us are lost. We don't know our identity anymore. It's just we attach it to monetary gain. And there's more to life than just monetary gain. So I feel like we kind of have to just strip it all back. Ask yourself, who am I? Who is Emmanuel?
Yes.
Who is Atto? Do you see what I mean? I feel like that's where the focus needs to be. And I feel like everything else will fall into place. That's just my personal outlook on that situation. Okay. I just feel, I don't know, I remember just growing up, for me personally, just like when I weren't earning what I'm earning now. I remember when I came out, my first graduate job, not even before I got my first graduate job, I remember I worked in a school as a science technician. And I'll never forget, I was on like 15K and that was absurd to me. And I'll never forget the science teacher, and he's a wicked man. But anyways, he said to me, you don't really make much. And he would remind me of that all the time. And I remember that always leave like a burning feeling, sensation in the back of my head. And I said, one day you watch. What's one day you watch? And then it's funny because actually that's came to my mind. Got a job working in the pharmaceutical, worked for AstraZeneca for a number of years, worked for a couple other companies as well within the pharmaceutical industry, worked my way up. And then I was just like, I'm a bit of a maverick. And then thankfully what happened to me, I got made redundant. That was probably one of the biggest lessons that ever happened to me. Because that showed me from early is that I don't have to place my whole soul and being into my job role. Because sometimes you start to wear that badge of honor thinking, that means who I am.
That's your identity.
Yeah. I'm Emmanuel. I work for so-and-so company. And I'm this is my role. And if almost being stripped back allowed me to just now I definitely pivoted because now I work in finance. But to really search, what am I really passionate about? What is it that I truly want to do? And how can I now immerse it all into who I am? We're in the journey now, working in the industry now in financial services for the last 7 years now. But I do other things outside of that. I'm more than just Emmanuel Jones, money-saving parent. I'm a father. I'm a proud father of that. I'm a proud husband of that. I mentor various young men. You know, I'm very active in church. I do a lot of things outside. There's more to me than just my income. So I feel a lot of people need to take a step back. What do you enjoy doing? And chase those things that you enjoy to do. Whether like you mentioned about drawing, painting, simple things just to unwind. Don't be so consumed on just, you know, that salary. And to add a spanner into that, some of us that make our being about our salary, that's your gross, not even your net. It's very deep in it.
In the UK, it's not tax free. In the UK, man.
It's not Dubai or you
say 6 figures. Not really. It's not really 6 figures.
So yeah.
Do you know what? That was such a brilliant answer. And I was going to just add to that, you know, when I always think about these things very personally. And for me, when I think about it, I think for me, where my worth comes from is that I'm made in the image of God. For me, like, on a very personal level. So that means that I'm infinitely worthy. Like I have so much value, even at the base case scenario, right? I'm starting from a really good place. And that matters so much because then that feeds into so many other things. What are the various attributes? You know, are you loving? Are you kind? Do you have self-control? You know, are you curious? Do you have creativity? You know, are you enterprising? These are all the other elements that start to make you think, actually, like I have so much about me that isn't just about like how much I can make, like, or what I'm worth financially. You know, do I care about people when the cameras aren't showing? Like, do I show kindness to the receptionist? Do I speak to the lady or the man at the train station with respect? Do I see an old lady crossing the road and her bag falls down? Do I go and help her up and, you know, pick her things up? Do I respect my culture and my heritage? You know, do I show love to my wife, and do I, you know, show love and kindness and respect to my children and treat them as I would, you know, in a way I'd expect God to treat me, right? These are all the elements for me that really speak to when we're redefining how we should be looking at our worth and that sort of thing. These are the things that I think like matter so much, man. Like this is, if you think about them, they're all human-centered. They're about like human connection.
Yeah.
They're about how we relate to each other. They're actually eternal. They speak to our soul. They're not just about transaction. Money, finances is all transactional. But here I'm speaking about eternal perspectives. You know, things that live on beyond just, you know, how much have you got in the bank? How much debt do you have? And like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Things that matter like, you know, like forever. Things that will give you peace, actually. Such that you feel like, you know what? Like, I'm at peace because of this aspect to my being.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, those are the elements that I'd highlight as if we had to redefine, these are the bits, you know, goodness, joy, love, you know, self-control. My goodness, self-control, such a key thing.
It is very key,
all these elements.
And you know, you'll never be at peace if the people you're surrounded by have a conditional relationship with you, right? So if they're in with you because you make this, so you say you get there, right? I make this, I get the partner that I want, right? It's like, well, if that's conditional, what if something happens, right? If you're building proper relationships where you are recognized and loved for who you are, whatever happens, then you're going to feel secure and at peace. If you got to like keep up with the Joneses every other day to keep your partner and to keep your friends, you're never going to be at peace. You're going to be going level after level after level.
Wow. You know, the fact that you said that, I was thinking of like people, you know, like when that person lose their job, unfortunately, or lose the money, and then it's like, okay, relationships and friends don't want to be around them. You always see these in movies and series. And that's actually quite sad, to be fair. And the fact that you said that is so interesting, because it's like, almost like you say, you're building a conditional relationship, and Ken is saying obviously you do have that human touch, but actually it's not even a real one, right? It's based on, and if you've got these conditions of your status or your net worth and whatnot, you're a millionaire or you're Jeff Bezos or whatever it is. If
you've got those things, then you can weather the storms as well, right? So if you've got people around you that care about you, you've got your values, you lose your job, you don't lose everything because you have your relationships and you have your love and you have your community, and you pick yourself up and you pick each other up. It's just a pathological direction, right? To keep acquiring more, to acquire relationships that are based on what you're acquiring. It's a real trap.
I want to add on something actually, and I feel like the biggest currency is definitely relationships, right? And not going into it with a transactional mindset. And the reason why I said it is, and it's funny now you say it's starting to flow. My first role in the pharmaceutical industry came through one of my good friends. So my daughter's godfather. He's my good friend. Literally had an event at the O2. He was doing some poetry. Met a representative from AstraZeneca. Said, I've got a friend, myself, EJ, literally done biochemistry at university. He's working in the school as a site technician. He hates it right now because obviously the teacher's giving him grief. So that was the experience. And then he was like, is there any synergy whereby he can, just have a conversation with you? He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. And for me, that's always played on my mind. So now in my role, even though I'm self-employed, working as an area sales manager, how many people can I bring through that perhaps has been marginalized in society? Perhaps maybe just didn't get the best grades at university. Maybe they've applied for various jobs. Whereas I see all the guys that get the first and 2-1s and see, it's just great. But let's look at maybe the hidden alumni, so to speak. Perhaps maybe just whatever's happened in life. Maybe they've gone through curveballs, they've been hurdles, obstacles, but there's something there. Let's have an interview. Because someone done that for me, so that's now spurred me on to say, you know what, who can I help? And even if I can't help you directly because I'm in finance now, But I've still got contacts in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
I had a good friend of mine that got married recently. And when I was there, she was like, EJ, I've been trying to get into the industry. What can I do? Obviously, I can say this now because I don't work for the company. But I said, come and shadow me for the day.
Okay.
Because the company would take long to do. I said, I was out in the field.
Wow.
Come and shadow me. Now she's flourishing. So it's little things like that. It's almost like having those relationships.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're open and honest and genuine and checking, not trying to be transactional.
And generous. It's a really generous thing to do.
This is it. Just be good to people. Like Ken said, if someone was to drop down or drop their bag, you're going to help them up.
Yeah.
It says more about you. And I feel like, not that you do it for what's going to happen in return, but more often than not, if you do good, good will follow you.
Yeah. So, it's important. Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. And this is a finance podcast, so I have to ask you. The question. So my final question before we wrap up: what's the best way for men to approach building wealth for themselves and their family? Not just for themselves and their families. Or what you think?
Best way for them to approach building wealth. Are these single men or married men or just men generally?
Any.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd probably say one of the first things I say is lifestyle matters so much because lifestyle is what would dictate whether you live above your means or below your means, right? So choose wisely what lifestyle you pursue, because the simpler and more intentional your lifestyle, and if you pair that with this mindset of making your money work over time, you are guaranteed to build wealth, right? Now, one other thing I want to talk about is this idea of small changes, because oftentimes we think wealth building is about making big changes, or like you need to be like massively entrepreneurial, you need to maybe have a rich dad, you need to win the lottery, or you need to, all these kinds of things, right? But I can tell you right now that the person who intentionally makes small changes, these 1% changes around their lives, stuff like, every day they are trying to sharpen their skills. Every month they've decided to put an automation in place to have a fixed percentage of their income saved, not just sitting in an account, but invested. That's a system for wealth building, right? That forces them to live below their means. Every day they are learning the intention about what they let into their ears and into their mind, and they're choosing to be fed with the right information and surround themselves with the right people, trying to be in the right rooms. Even simple things like going to an event, paying £50 to go to an event because you're going to meet the right people of a particular mindset. You see, these small cumulative changes, little by little, gradually compound. And matter. And even simple things like just understanding the rule of 72 that says, how long it takes for your money to double. Most people want that quick, get rich quick. I want to see go from like £10 to £1 million next week. Ain't going to happen, right? But if you understand simply that if you invested 10 grand and you generated, say an 8% return on investment, the rule of 72 says, take 72 and divide it by 8, the rate of return, it would take you 9 years for your money to double, right? And so on. So depending on what rate you're aiming at. So if you understand that simple principle, if I manage my lifestyle well, if I'm letting a proportion of my money to be saved and invested in the right way, if I have this long-term perspective that my money would double and grow, and if I sow different seeds in different places, seeds in the stock market, seeds in other assets, seeds in commodities, seeds in your skill set, seeds in yourself. If you do all these things, little by little, wealth building is inevitable. It takes just those small changes in mindset, skill set, and the tool sets you're using for building wealth for that to actually happen over time.
Appreciate you, Ken. Thank you.
I love that. Okay. Let me try and add a little bit slightly different. I like what Ken said. You're your biggest asset. Invest in yourself and invest in yourself first. I feel like a lot of us will pay our bills first, but you've worked hard for those, 31 days or 30 days in a month just to give it all away. What courses are you looking at? And I like what Ken mentioned about the events. For me, I've met so many people at events and it's pretty much changed my trajectory. Whether it be, trying to learn more about the industry that I'm in or trying to get into another industry or to learn about different things, wherever it may be. Don't be afraid to pay for that course. Don't be afraid to read books. I feel like we're in a generation whereby people aren't reading enough books and there's so much information in books. You know, I know there's a saying that says something about if you want to hide something from someone, put it in a book. That's deep. That's deep. That's that for me. Read, and learn a skill, because guess what? Skills will help you pay your bills. Honestly. Also, is one of the top 3 decisions you would ever make in your life is who you choose to do life with. Obviously, I'm married. I'm a married man. Been married for 10 years now. God's grace. If you don't want to do marriage, that's up to you. But even if you find a life partner, that's probably one of the top 3 decisions you make. So even that coming together, making that decision can truly add to your wealth or subtract from your wealth, as we see those whereby the wealth is being subtracted, or those whereby things have gone really well and it's now taking them to newer heights.
Multiplied.
You know, so invest in yourself. Remember, you're the biggest asset. Pay yourself first, which is from the book Rich Man in Babylon. For me, that's probably one of the first books I read about finance. And for me, it set me on that journey of making sure no matter what, 10% of what I earn belongs to me in terms of my investments, as a great what I'm trying to do. So yeah, those would be my take home.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you. Aaron, what about you?
Have you guys ever heard of the marshmallow test?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Wow, I'm learning some new things today.
So listen to this one.
Well, look it up on YouTube. There's some really funny videos about it. But basically, it's a test they did, I think, in the 60s or 70s, where they give a kid a marshmallow and they say, if you don't eat that marshmallow in the next 5 minutes, you get 2 marshmallows. And you watch these videos and these kids are just salivating over these marshmallows and they're like taking little bits. But they did this longitudinal study, and the kids that were able to wait for the second marshmallow had like better numbers and everything, their test scores and their career and their overall income. It was all about delayed gratification. So delayed gratification sucks, but it really works in the long term. And some of the things that you guys were saying, you can make delayed gratification easier on yourself by trying to make decisions from your better self for your less better self. So for example, my better self knows that if I set up a direct debit for my bank account the day my salary comes in to put 10% of my money into a savings account or an ISA or whatever, I never see that 10%. Like my better self's already made that decision for me. I get what's left over, right? It's like having the gym bag packed at the door, ready for you to go, so that when your not better self says you want to lie in bed, it's like, well, my better self already packed the bag or paid for a personal trainer.
Love that.
So you set up, you when you're in your better self mood, right? Delayed gratification, make delayed gratification as easy as it can be straight across the board. You get a pay rise, you increase the money that's going to your pension or savings account. Right? You find ways to automate so your bad self doesn't have to think about it. It's like not having the Pringles in the house. Your better self doesn't buy the Pringles so that your bad self doesn't eat them later, right? So find out what those are and put them all into action.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much all for this conversation.
Wait. So what would you say?
What would I say? I'm getting
We're going to flip it on you.
Oh, what is the best way to... Okay, so for me personally, I like investing. So I've liked all the messages here. And I think the reason why I think investing is one of the most powerful ways is because of the compounding, as you've both mentioned. And a lot of people don't tap into it, actually. And I think it's even more powerful nowadays because of how accessible it is. Back in the days, this was not something that we could do. We could not invest from £1. You had to have, as Ken mentioned, you had to have relationships. You had to have a lot of money. There's still a few backdoor things happening, of course. But this is, for me, it's like one of the most accessible, powerful wealth building tools that you can do over time. And I think it's not until I got into this space that I've now understood, wow, this is actually how to. So for me, I would say with anybody, put as much money as you can into your stocks and shares ISA, because the way things are moving, you just don't know if that will be around in the future. And a lot of people are not making use of it. I think it's only about 15% of adults in the UK.
It's ridiculous.
It's poor, very poor.
And there were talks of them to reduce that figure from 20k.
Exactly. And what I'm hearing, even if they don't do it this year, ideas are being planted in their heads.
Seeds are being sown.
So even though 5 years, it might be 10 years, the idea is being planted. So they might start looking at it like, actually, nowhere else in the world is doing it. Should we just tax these guys? Why are they getting that? So that's why I'm like, utilize this stuff when it's here, right? All these, essentially, I think one of the things that helped me, somebody said it as well, look. One of the things that helped me was I always looked for things that would help me. So buying my first property, looked at a lifetime ISA. Renting, there was intermediate rent. It wasn't being widely public. So I always looked for, okay, how's the government helping you to make more money?
Yes.
ISAs, they give you tax
Bro,
free, utilize.
You know about
pensions.
this ISIS?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something that a lot of people don't think about. Do you know that, well, you know this, but if this idea that if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
I don't think people actually understand what that
it,
means.
yeah.
So let's say you wanted to build up £100,000 in your ISA. Yeah. Every year you get allotted 20K possibility. Yeah. If you don't use that 20K this year, that is it. You need your 5 years, you need to wait another 5 years for the possibility to put 20K each in that then gets invested. So that 20K loss, well, the allowance that you let go actually truly matters.
Yeah.
Like it matters so much. Like I want people to actually understand that you've actually let go of the possibility of 20K that can double every 7 or 8 years tax free. You've actually just let go of that possibility. You've just said, yeah, I had it, but like I've just let it go. That is such a monument. It took me a while to realize the impact of that. And for couples, that's 40K.
Yeah. And people think it's complicated. Which
It's not complicated.
It's actually really, even I understand it.
Yeah.
Really simple.
Yeah. So that was it for me. The government gives us so much, but we need to utilize it more. Pensions, ISAs, lifetime ISAs if you're first time. Just look to these things. And that's what I did. And I think that's what really helped me. So I think that's my one. Ken, I'll start with you. Where can people find you if they want to, connect to you and find out more about you?
Okay, so you can find me on our website at thehumblepenny.com. So head over there. On socials, everything's at The Humble Penny. So our YouTube channel at The Humble Penny, Instagram, TikTok. Also on LinkedIn, you can find me by my name, Ken Okoroafor. I'm posting there every single week and that sort of thing. And if you wanted to know more about our books, so The Wealth Habit, that's our latest book, soon to be published. As I mentioned before, you can find it on Amazon and all those various places, Waterstones and so on. Or you can, again, find it on at WH Smith's and all the various retailers. Depending on what part of the world you're in, various retailers, you can buy it anywhere really, US, UK, Africa, in Europe, Asia. It's going to be published everywhere. So check it out wherever you can.
Thank you. Appreciate you featuring the podcast, Ken. I really appreciate all your wonderful insights. Emmanuel, what about yourself?
Yeah, at Money Saving Parent. So that's on TikTok and Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn as well, Emmanuel Jones. But also if you type in Money Saving Parent, it comes up as well. So there, I'm more on LinkedIn. I'm more sure about my day to day in terms of like being an area sales manager, training up other advisors to get into the mortgage and wealth protection industry as well. So yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you as well for sharing all your insights as well, and like, sharing the stories of your friends. I think these conversations really do help, and I hope the people watching and listening to this feel empowered, because I think that's the point, right? Feel empowered, feel brave, try and start forming those connections with people that are gonna like have that safe space that we talked about. Aaron, how can people connect with you as well?
Yeah, well, they can come to my website. It's my name, aaronbalick.com. You'll have show notes because I won't spell it out. Yeah. Also on Instagram, Dr Aaron B, Dr Aaron B, and on Blue Sky.
Amazing.
So find me.
Thank you.
LinkedIn too.
Amazing. Thank you. No, thank you all for, your inputs today. Like I said, I really, really valued it. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the podcast. See you next week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, share your favorite part in the comments, tap the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is really appreciated. We'll keep working hard to bring you more valuable conversations.